members and guests. My name is Basima Al-Ali. I am originally from Beirut, Lebanon, which once was called the Switzerland of the Orient. I came to Vancouver holding over 20 years of experience in childcare or higher education sector and leading different roles. Initially, when I came to Canada, I landed 2 years ago in Montreal, coming from Francophone country. But then I decided to move to Vancouver to be with my children, who are now young, handsome gentlemen. And I thought, that with my years of experience, the language, the life achievements, it would be easy for you to continue to grow. But what I faced here, it was a challenging situation. A challenge to move this experience and knowledge into a new system that I faced here. And since then, I've been in this situation where I have to reclaim myself, reclaim my voice, and to challenge or to lead in a way that sometimes is challenging for me to these unfamiliar structures. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Alejandra, and I am originally from Venezuela. And I came to Canada in 2018. My journey has been one of forced migration, so I became a refugee at some point. But I have always been connected with PIRS since year 2. I have been very lucky and very blessed of being connected with the organization all this time, different capacities, different forms. Initially as a participant of the Build and Bridges program, then I was a volunteer, then a full-time team member, and now I'm a part-time team member, but always connected with the community. Very grateful for being here tonight, to share our experiences, honored to be sharing the panel with these amazing women, including one of the pioneers, Patsy, and yeah, looking forward to this conversation tonight.
And Patsy.
Thanks, Adam. I really want to say thank you that we are able to do this and share. And my own story, that goes back 65 years. Majority of you were not even born when I arrived in Canada. So it's an old story. And I came as a student. I spent about 10 months in the US before coming to Canada. I left India, which is where I was born, in the southern tip of India. Kerala is the name of the state. And in those days, the easiest way or the cheapest way to travel was on a ship. So it took me 28 days to leave my home in Kochi and to arrive in New York City. And I arrived on the 27th of December in the middle of a snowstorm. And there I am wearing a silk sari, and I had socks, but wearing sandals, no boots. And my first memory of it is somebody took me to Macy's, a big store, to buy a pair of boots. And so I went in and I looked around, and the woman who was serving came and said to me, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yes, I'm looking for a pair of boots for myself." And she said, "Well, let me take you." She took me to the other section of that area, because I was looking at men's shoes. I didn't know the difference between men's boots and the women's boots. So that was my beginning. So I arrived in Windsor, Ontario a year later, and went to university, both in Windsor and also the University of Ottawa, and became a social worker. And I lived in many parts of Canada, ended up in Vancouver in 1975. So that's my introduction.
Thank you, Patsy. As we reflect on these 3 words, courage, connection, and community, we'll start with courage. And it is an elastic word. It can mean many different things to many different people. I know for many of you in the room here, you have a particular understanding of it through the challenges you faced in your own lives. But I'd like to start with you, Maria Alejandra. Having come from Venezuela 8 years ago, not by choice, what does courage evoke for you?
So many things, and yeah, definitely. I think the meaning of the word courage for me keeps changing. But back then, the very first moment of courage was there in Italy, crossing the border, coming to Canada. That was scary. But I was lucky and blessed to interact with, a lot of organizations providing so much support for immigrants like me. And also, it was just a totally different experience. I was scared, but at some point I realized that I was coming with this reference of what institutions look like in my country, and it was totally different of what I can expect here, right? So that was the first act of courage. And I think as time passed, at some point courage was more about trusting that my career aspirations in Canada were not too much, was not too crazy, and that I really deserved, and I was going to be able to achieve what I really wanted to do, which was totally different from what I did back home. So back home I used to work as an engineer for 12 years. And then when I came to Canada, it was very tempting to go back to engineering because they get a lot of money here, right? But I didn't want to do that anymore. That was not my call anymore. I was totally done. But I was not confident that I was going to be able to do this other thing that was facilitation. And then I connected with PIRS. Someone in the community connected me with PIRS. And then I found this program that was all about facilitation. And I was, okay, this is what I need to do. So I think courage was about trusting that what I wanted, it was not too much. And that I deserved to achieve that. And then trusting people in the community, reaching out for help. That's courage too at times. This is what I want, even if it can sound crazy, and there is always people out there willing to support us along the way. So that was my experience then.
Thank you. Basima, your experience, your journey has been quite different than Alejandro's. What does courage evoke for you?
Well, Heather, to tell you the truth, coming with 2 decades of experience, professional experience, for me, I thought courage would be confidence. Confidence in my language, confidence in the skills, confidence that I can be approachable, I can be known in the community, but what I faced was completely different. When I landed here and I came to Vancouver, I felt isolated. I felt the loss of everything. And though I let myself live the loss of what I've left behind, but I was always carrying this piece of hope to keep going on. And then I discovered that courage is not confidence. That was my fault at the start. Because later on, after 2 years, I discovered that courage is not only confidence, but it is the persistence for you to come and show up and to go all this way. Especially that you are coming to a place that it's a new culture, it's a new country, it's a new lifestyle. That's something that I haven't been facing before. So for me now, courage is not the confidence, it's not that fault, because it can fade, it can be shaken. But confidence, with the courage and the persistence of it, you will be able to prove yourself and be present in this community.
Thank you. Thank you. When we think of connection, it just seems inherent, as we're all part of this huge group. But Fernanda, your story is a little different. You came from Mexico. Your husband was here. But you didn't have other family here. It was a strange world. So what do you think about connection as you reflect back on that?
Yes, I would like to talk about this word and how it relates links my story to PIRS as well. I was privileged enough to met a community of Latin American people through my husband's cohort, but at the same time, I needed that persistence that Basima was talking about, and courage to start reaching out to other networks and not dependent on that. And I want to share a story that I feel is a perfect example of connection. And is that when I started volunteering as many newcomers do to shape a professional pathway here, I reached out to many organizations, and when they received a request, they were asking for some support for a mother with twins. And I was thrilled to find out that, because results that it was a friend I already knew from participating at Building Bridges program with PIRS. And that felt like a great experience actually for both of us, because it felt like at least a safe place. We already knew each other. And through this volunteering, eventually I found out that this friend was an activist at the Childcare Leadership Group with PIRS as well. And she connected me to this project that aligned with my professional interest at the time. So that's when I started volunteering with PIRS as well. And this is when it hit me that I was already belonging to an ecosystem of newcomer women supporting other newcomer women, and our lives were already intertwined somehow. That was very special to be aware of. And I kept in contact with PIRS and expanding my networks, and then I participated at the SHU program. Today I'm at this panel, and I'm happy to share that now I'm expecting my first child. Very pleasant.
Empowering the future.
Exactly. And it's I feel the connection more than ever, because I know I belong to a network that will keep working with me in this new project.
Thank you. Some of you may remember in January of 2024, there was an edition of the SHU Project, and Fernanda was part of that group. And you should ask her afterwards about her story, which involved a strange encounter on a bus and dancing. It's quite lovely. Patsy, connection. You've been connecting for over 60 years. So you have that perspective and wisdom. What does the word mean to you?
Well, I experienced severe racism when I was in the US as a student, and also political oppression, because every time you say something critical of the government at that time. Now, I'm going back to 1960, okay? I was told that you're a guest in our country. You cannot say that. And I arrived in Windsor, Ontario, and I was the first Commonwealth student, if you can believe it. Today, when you walk in, you think you're back in India, because there are so many students, international students from India there. I was received with such warmth and such respect, and they wanted me to go to various community groups to talk about what was happening in Kerala, where I came from, where for the first time in the history of our world, a communist government was first elected in 1957. So they were very curious about what was it like for people, and why did you leave something like that, and all of those kind of discussions. And I still have the very first friend I made in Windsor. I'm still very much in touch with him, and we're very, very close friends. And so I guess it's my personality, I'm not sure. I talk with people, whether they are on a plane or whether they are walking the streets or wherever, and sometimes they come home. In fact, I get teased about how I have friends in many parts of the world, because I have traveled quite a bit and I make connections with all of those people. I ended up in Vancouver many years ago. That was in '75, when Bev decided that she wanted to invite someone who is working in the Strathcona area to connect with PIRS. It was not an official organization at that point, and so Marianne and Bev are the ones who actually invited me to come. It was very much present, and it had to do with women, immigrant and refugee women who had come other places. And I was lucky that I didn't have to learn English, because I was already speaking English, and so that was an advantage I had, that a lot of the women who come, but it was so obvious to me as a social worker who was working in the Strathcona area that there are a lot of newcomers who needed the kind of support that these pioneers were trying to organize. And so I was quite lucky that I got connected with you folks and stayed with you. And it looks like we're going to stay together for a long time.
I just turned 85, you know. As I think of the many organizations that I, and I'm sure all of you have seen over the years, I find it astonishing that 50 years later, there are women in this room who were there and who are still here, not because we're doing something special tonight to honor you specifically, but simply because you've never stopped caring about PIRS. And that is just, as I say, astonishing. It's a community, which brings us to the word community. And I wonder, Basima, for you,
Yes.
what are your thoughts about what community can mean?
Well, Heather, community, it's a very emotionally challenging topic. Coming from a country where you have your family, your friends, your neighborhoods, neighbors are all surrounding you, coming to something completely new, I felt lost. I had months of crying, disconnected from everyone that I know. I have no one when I come here except my son. And it was so much troubling. Leaving my mom, who had brain stroke and cancer stage 3, my husband away. So coming kind of to the unknown and holding this load of emotions and starting and lots of questions. Will I be able to continue? Will I be able to survive? Will I be able to belong? What's next for me here? Lots of these questions. And lots of obstacles at the same time to prove myself, to prove my experience that is not recognized. How can I continue in this place that I have no one, to approach? And if I can go back to these early days, when I landed here, I would say, don't do everything by yourself. It's not strength. Because we women would like to, multitask. We can do things together. I know, and I am strong. Yeah, you are strong. But to be able to be strong, it's to see community first and trust it. Don't walk your journey alone. This is not strength. What is important is, because community is where your voice is heard, community where your experience is valued, and where community you can keep on growing. This is what's community. Because the system, most of the time, they look at the newcomers as people with needs, where community will look at you as an asset, a person with an asset. You can add to the community, you can keep on growing, and this is the importance. And I would like to share something here, if you allow me, Heather. 2 years ago, when I came here, and I was volunteering at the South Vancouver Neighborhood House, and I received an email saying that there is an opportunity for the Immigrant Women Advisory Committee. And I said, yeah, okay, let's try it, why not? Let me do it. So I joined, I applied, and through this program, I discovered myself, I discovered who I was, and I know something very important. With such kind of community, your knowledge should not be minimized. Your knowledge and your experience is an asset. And this is what PIRS is doing. They shape the advocates. They are truly what means a community. And I would like to add, yesterday, I was a participant. Today, because of the leadership, the trust, and the mentorship opportunity provided by PIRS, I am the manager of the Women's Leadership and Development Program at PIRS. This is what PIRS do. So don't walk your journey alone, join PIRS.
And you also have been a part of PIRS's program, the She Project.
Yes, of course.
More recently, in the past year.
Last year.
Ask Basima about her garden.
Actually, yes. I wasn't able to be here and have the confidence and the courage, because of the persistence provided by the Shoe Project program. They showed me how I can share my story with all the confidence out loud. And I was in a situation to share a very deep personal trauma that even my children that last year were so much surprised to see me performing. Till today, my husband even the other day, he told me, Basima, send me your Shoe Project recording. And he's been spreading it all over. Because this is the courage that is given to us through PIRS. They are shaping us. And they are letting women not only to settle, but they are supporting women for these 50 years to belong and lead.
Thank you, Basima. As we wrap up this conversation, and I know that many of you might be thinking about having conversations amongst yourselves shortly and having a little something to eat and drink. Maria Alejandra, I wonder if you would like to add anything about your perception of community.
Yeah, sure. For me, community is something that I thought I knew about. And I feel that, because I come from Venezuela and from this big family, so I was used to be with a lot of people around me all the time, so I thought I knew about community. And I was, so I knew what was it to be in community, but when I came to Canada, I feel that I have learned new things about what it means to be part of a community, things like develop a community, or I think more importantly, relying on community, because I was used to being community but not relying on community. And I think that is something that I have learned actually through my involvement with PIRS, and especially because one of the transitions that I went through as an immigrant was a divorce. So, you know, going back to, now I'm a single immigrant woman and I don't have any relatives here. Who can I rely on, right? And at the end of the day, the answer to that has been all these connections that I have made through these programs and interactions that I have had with PIRS. Right now I'm lucky to say, for example, that I have a community of people that I can rely on and that I trust, women that have been for me there for anything from marriages and divorces, building lunches and building closing, and also even political crisis. Whenever something is happening in Venezuela, the first person that I call is Behawar. She's here tonight. And she's from Iran, and I say, girl, have you seen what the crazy guys are doing down there? And she, yeah, they're doing the same thing in Iran right now. So, you know, that kind of connection, someone that you can cry with, she will get you, but also beyond that, just people that are there for you at any time. They are not your family, but they feel like that. So I think that's the best investment we can do. I will highly recommend any immigrant women. Don't be, just invest every single money you can invest in a cup of coffee with someone that you feel can turn into a close relationship. That's the best investment we can do. No another title, no another, certification. People are the ones that are going to help. Just as Basima say, right? If you have that, you will figure out everything else. That's my experience.
Thank you, Patsy and Basima and Fernanda. It seems there's this common thread through all of your stories, and I know so many of you in this collection of wonderful people know it too, that it's the conversations, it's the connections,